What's up, you guys? This is Devin from CFX Studios. Today we're going to be talking about Canon's new EOS R cameras. You know what you're saying, Devin, didn't you just talk about two new EOS R cameras, namely the EOS R5 and the EOS R6? Yes, but Canon Rumors has done it again, and they said that for 2021 they're going to come out with 2 to 3 new cameras and some other rumored type of cameras that they might come out with in the future. So these new cameras would be the EOS R1. Now this makes sense because the highest level, the flagship for Canon, always has the 1 in it, kind of let you know it's number 1. It's kind of opposite. It's like instead of it being a higher number, it's a lower number, closer to 1, like first place. So EOS R would be the flagship. And then you would have the next camera coming out, which would be the EOS R5s, which makes sense because you have the 5DSR and you have the 5DS. These are two of essentially the same cameras, just slightly different to cater to somebody who wants a different style of that same camera. So for example, the 5DSR has an anti-aliasing filter, giving you a lot more sharpness, where the 5DS does not have that anti-aliasing filter. You do have a slight change in price, and this does make sense because if you have a camera that's trucking a lot of megapixels and a lot of resolution, well, if you don't need that resolution and you want to save money just on resolution alone, it makes sense for them to buy it, especially or it makes sense for them to present this to you because you have a lot of people who haven't gotten to this mirrorless world yet, and it's mainly because of lenses and price. So if you can make a camera that's supposed to be the beast, because Canon is touting it to be one of the best legendary camera for that matter, it's a good idea to have two different options. And I've said this in the past for the 7D. But you also have a new version of the EOS RP, and I don't know if this is going to be called the EOS RP Mark II or whatever it might be, but an affordable mirrorless SLR that you can use that's full frame and also gets people into buying new mirrorless Canon cameras. Also, there was also something mentioned by Petapixel as their response to Canon rumors when they said that a lot of people are talking about an EOS R that is APS-C. And why is this a valuable rumor, a credible rumor at that? I think this is credible because the EOS R system is where Canon is focusing at right now. Like, they are pretty much putting all their eggs in the basket of mirrorless right now. They really haven't been making a lot of DSLR lenses. They haven't been making EOS M lenses for the definitely not EOS M lenses, but they really are putting all their eggs in the basket of the RF lens system and the EOS R mirrorless full frame cameras. So it makes sense that they will make like a 90 or not 90, but a $800 to $900 EOS R APS-C body. And I think that this would be called like an R7 because you remember the 7D, long live the 7D series. The 7D was the highest APS-C size sensor with the DSLRs. Well, it makes sense that they would call this the R7, not only to bring back some of those nostalgic feelings of the 7D, but also to have a high, I would say, not necessarily megapixels, but a high-end not full frame, but crop frame sensor body. See, all these words and all this language is very early in the morning, but I wanted to get this video out to you guys. I'm trying my best here. But it would make sense for the EOS RP, in my opinion. Now, this is not a rumor, but the EOS RP to have an APS-C version too, because we've already made the EOS RP. We already know that it's a cheaper version of the EOS R in the whole EOS R series. It's supposed to be the cheapity cheap. So since it's cheap, instead of them having to worry about people debating whether or not to have full frame or crop frame, we would just make this a price thing. Have the EOS RP priced at the opening price of a T8i or a Rebel series camera. Stay with me now. If you have an EOS R mirrorless camera, an EOS RP APS-C if you will, priced at the next Rebel price of a DSLR, like a T9i would be priced at an $850 or closer to $900 or $750 to $900 in that price bracket. Because the reason why this is so important and so valuable to Canon is because they've already made the body. They're not going to do a whole bunch of stuff to the EOS EOS-R5 body, they're probably just going to rip that sensor out and put a smaller sensor in there and then have everything calculated and retabulated or whatever, stuff like that. But they're not going to restructure a whole bunch of stuff on the specs of this camera because it's a cheaper camera. You see what I'm saying? They really want you to get into the mirrorless world. Buy into these new mirrorless lenses that they're investing all their money into. Notice that they've been making mirrorless lenses or R series lenses, RF series lenses that allow you to get lower apertures, or they're not as fast. Like there's one of the new mirrorless lenses that stops all the way down. It's a variable aperture lens that goes from like 3.5 to like 7.1. It's something crazy. I think it's a 24 to 105 or something like that. But these are the things that go on initial bodies or beginner bodies or rebel cameras that you just get into when you're first starting into the system, which allows me again to put credence on this APS-C EOS-R body. Even though I don't think the APS-C sensor is going to stay around a long time, this is a perfect way to get Canon to get people into this more expensive body style and lens lineup. So those are my thoughts. It's supposed to be an R1, an EOS R5s. It's supposed to be an EOS RP Mark II probably, and then APS-C version of an EOS-R camera. So what are your thoughts on this, guys? What do you think? Is Canon going to do any of this stuff? Canon really needs people to come into their mirrorless bodies like Sony. They need to really stomp Sony, and I think this is the most excitement I've seen around Canon for the last 15 years. Like it hasn't been this, well, I wouldn't say 15 years. I would say since the 5D Mark II came out. And that was like 11, 12 years ago. So that's something to think about, guys. All this excitement around Canon. And regarding the coronavirus, I don't think that they're going to really be releasing or have a lot of excitement around their cameras as far as purchasing. Like people are not going to be purchasing these cameras like that since the coronavirus is a thing. But when 2021 comes around and I would assume us to have a hold on this, when people are able to actually purchase things and go back to work and do things like that, that excitement is going to go up more. So like I said, 13 years since the 5D Mark II, or 12 years since the 5D Mark II came out, regarding 2020 and 2021, whenever they're able to really start shipping these cameras. So let me know in the comments below, guys, what you think, and stay tuned for the next video.